Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Reasonably Effective Podcast. I'm Ten Types, as always, joined by Uncommon Fossil.
Hello, glad to be here and got a interesting topic for today's episode, I would say.
Yeah, so recently I've been working on a deck. The video of me playing and going over the deck is not out yet. We will be taking a look at the deck, though, and it's a really fun deck, I think, but it's very unique as well. And definitely, it's something that I played against Uncommon Fossil. I played against you where first I played it, you just played some like relatively normal deck, and then I played against you, or then we played a mirror. I will say the deck isn't, super well designed. I don't know. And it, again, took me a long time. I think it took me around, I was gonna say 60 hours. That like might be a little high, but it's a bunch of time. It was quite a journey, both metaphorically and literally. There was some actual traveling, not that much, but a little bit. And yeah, what you want to describe the deck?
Yeah, I mean, first you put together this custom deck. We played it in the PTCG sim because to do it digitally, that was really the only place to play it. When you hear about the deck, you'll understand why. And I played Day, a slightly. It wasn't standard legal in the day. It's got at least a little bit of newer cards since then too. So, it is an expanded legal deck, and you could play it even in
Live, right?
live, I believe.
Yep.
But your deck is not. So your deck, the basic concept is it's a 60 card deck, and you took each card comes from a different game. I was going to say trading card game, but they're not even all trading card games. They mostly are.
No,
But then
most are
there's like
not actually. Or I don't know.
no,
I wanted
okay.
most. Originally, I didn't want most to be. I'd say around maybe like 30-40% are. I'm not sure, to be honest. Um yeah, but some are. I tried not to. I wanted it to be mostly classic, like I don't know if classic, but very popular games. It drifted away from that some because it is 60 different cards, 60 different games. But I have stuff as iconic as just a deck of cards or a or Monopoly.
Right, and you got a picture of a Scrabble tile, which is not a card at all. I think everything else is a card. Pretty much they're physical cards, although you have one pocket card, and that's a digital card only. But
There's a few
um,
digital cards only.
yeah, they are. So, do you want us kind of walk through your deck? You want to talk about the concepts? What do you want? Where do you want to kind of start this conversation?
I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not exactly sure what direction this podcast is going to go in because we're going to talk about this some. I might talk about the process of making it some as well. I do want to talk about that. I haven't told you about it, so I kept this a secret for you. And if you don't know, you're my well, you know this, but the viewers, you are my
Yes.
father. We live in the same house, and I was trying to keep this secret. These cards, most of these are from online. PTCG Sim, if you're not familiar with it, you import the deck, but you need an image. So I had to like download and like upload some to Google. And so some of these are physical cards that we own. For example, First Aid Kit here, which we didn't end up using, which I'm kind of happy for because I'm not exactly sure what we do with it. Because, anyways, it's a card that is from the game Betrayal. I think it's Betrayal House on the Hill or something like that. Might have missed a word or added a word, but regardless, it's a game, and this is a picture. You can see a little glare on it. But yeah, some of these are pictures, and so that was kind of awkward. Had to hide that from you, and I was looking at lots of different games as well. I had to look at rulings for different games. I tried to make this kind of like different, keeping the game kind of true to what it is from the original game for the most part, not for all of them, but for most of them. And I also discovered a lot of different things in doing this. I spent a lot of time researching. I am familiar with some of these games, but probably like I think I've played maybe half of the games, but I've seriously played maybe a quarter. So was doing a lot of different research on a lot of different sites, which was pretty fun, and learned a lot of things about different games in the process. We went to actually a game store, and I got some stuff from that, and found a new game I like, and a lot of different things. And I want to talk about today, notably, how these things can be like theoretically used in Pokemon, or if they'd work in Pokemon, different concepts from different games, because we don't really talk about them, and honestly, we kind of ignore them most of the time, and they are meaningful to talk about sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, some of the text on the cards, some things you can translate to Pokemon pretty well. Like certainly, like Magic the Gathering, you can transfer what they are for types. Generally speaking, some of them have like mechanics or phrases on it that almost you can't translate, and I think you just try to ignore some. and probably have, if you wanted to make a more balanced game, you probably need to not have 60 different games, but probably pick games that are more compatible with Pokemon, because you still kept, we had quote Pokemon, we still had trainers that fell into supporters, items, tools, stadiums, and energies, right? So everything became a Pokemon card of one way or another.
Yeah. And some of these games are more similar, as you said, like the TCGs are generally more similar. Unlike something like Oregon Trail is like a card game based on a video game. Oh, I think I reordered my deck. But then you have stuff like something like Candyland or something like that's like very different. Or
Yeah.
Settlers of Catan or like Monopoly. So a lot of those became energies, which is just like anything. As well as some like the weird the supporter cards and Bill are supporters in the TCG, and so they're like those supporters, but they're just cards from. Do you know where Bill's from?
I don't remember.
It's from Guess Who, and then N is from Scrabble here, which also the PCG Civ. So these cards are different sizes. Not sure what it's going to look like in the thumbnail. Probably bad. I'm not going to lie, but it's kind of awkward to make these in the deck, and I want to actually, because we're in PCG Sim in a game together. I don't know if that's what you're looking at right now, but I'm gonna pop a couple of cards down here
Yeah.
of different sizes and show you what it looks like. So hopefully this works right. So I'm gonna put like 10 damage on each of them, and tell me if you notice anything.
Oh, the damage counters change in size too. So I mean,
Yeah.
because there's two issues. There's this card size, which I guess must be size of the image, but then there's also the aspects ratios change too. Because like I believe I attach the energy, which is the ore from Catan in this case. Oh wait, that didn't work right because the game thought it was not an energy, so I have to change type. And but then I believe when I attach it to the Pokemon, oh no,
Okay,
that
I
one
don't know
sticks
what's
out. But some,
happening with the issue is with you attaching energies. You've had issues attaching energies,
yeah,
and I don't. I think it's just a you issue. I don't think it's the game. I think it's the wrong type. But
okay.
regardless,
But but some energies or tools like would just disappear underneath the Pokemon, right? If it was small enough, the
yeah,
way
like
it
under
was
NTV, my NTV here.
okay. Oh, what do you have under that?
I
Oh,
got
you have the
the Candyland 2 blue tiles card. Iconic.
yes. So let me see if it works the same for me.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, yeah, it
So
did. That's just good.
And I'm
Okay.
also looking at games. I looked at different things. I looked at actually Board Game Geek, which has a bunch of games, and then the Amazon best-selling games as well. And this is like drifting farther away from Pokemon, but is like about board games and games in general. And a lot of the popular games on Amazon were very different than the ones on Board Game Geek, which is the Board Game Geek ones were what I'd consider to be like personally games that are like popular that are like kind of more what I was looking for, something like Catan, Dominion. I don't know if Dominion was on there, but it's that type of game. A lot of different things like that. Um, some pretty iconic, but popular. I don't know how popular Dominion is. It's a game we both like though. And then looking
Yeah.
at Amazon, a lot of the games are for much younger audiences. Something like Candyland, and I don't have many of those here. Pokemon, isn't like super old. It's like kind of younger, but like it's not like for like children. Like it kind of is, but certainly not like young children. To the extent of something like Candyland, which is for like toddlers or something. So that was interesting to see that there's like a lot of games aimed at that bought on Amazon. Again, it's like kind of different, but I noticed that. And those games obviously have much simpler mechanics. But it's interesting to see like games with different mechanics, and they still like kind of work here. Like the game, I think the game was playable, right? You'd say it was playable.
Yeah, I mean, and you have a sheet with kind of how the cards quote work in your Google Doc, like next to the card. You kind of had some rulings, but you still weren't sure about everything. And there are some cards there was like probably some important text that you just ignored. Like this card from One Piece, I think it is. It's got a trigger on the card with some text, and you just said we're ignoring that.
Yeah, I wanted to look at rules, but I didn't want to look at every rule. So in doing this, I looked at like a lot of different rules for a lot of different games, and learned about some really cool games. Learned about the game Root, not that much about the game Root, but it's a cool one. We got this card here. Oh, I have an energy attached there. Learned about a new game, Mindbug, which I found that I wasn't aware of. I'm actually ranked top like 40 in the world because people don't play it very much. But I started like researching this video, but I enjoyed that. And also learned about because Limitless, the database, has some different games in it. It does have One Piece. It has there's some other ones as well. So I found some of those. Also, PokemonCard.io has a lot of different websites. There's one for Digimon. There's one for I don't remember what's on there. I'm not gonna lie, but there's a bunch of different ones, and they were useful. There might have been a Yu-Gi-Oh one. I don't remember, but I was able to find these cards and find interesting like data on the cards as well. And there's a lot of data on some of these games. Some of these games have like no data on them, so it's kind of interesting. Obviously, there's some different ones, like something uh I don't know, uh Scythe here, like the data, there isn't really data on it. It's not a TCG or anything like that. But lots of different things. Also want to shout out the last one that is that's not the right card. This card, the Solar Beans card, which is a YouTuber from the Hermitcraft TCG, which is kind of based on Pokemon, I think, might actually be the one that's most similar to Pokemon here. Not sure, have not played it, but I'm a fan of Hermitcraft and thought that was cool. Vaguely knew of it, but didn't know much about it and haven't really looked at it, but thought that was cool. And also, I think now let's talk about one of the mechanics that popped up in a few different cards here. Moving into some more different things. We got some trainer cards. We got Kitten Ambush, Nope, Uno Reverse card, which I attached to the Nope card by accident. There might be another one, but there's a bunch of items, or I don't know, I count them as items, but it doesn't really matter. But they're cards that you can play on your opponent's turn to stop them from doing their what they want to do. We didn't really use the Universe card. It's like kind of niche. I think it's like counters boss's orders, and then we'll counter something like some of these items like Mystic Shot, which is kind of like Team Rocket's Venture Bomb, which just does damage, or something like honestly, it's pretty niche in this situation. But again, useful against something like Boss. But these counter cards, I think, are interesting. You look at something like just Nope, which is like from Magic the Gathering. It's just, I think, Counterspell or whatever it's called. And do you think these cards are cool, or do you not think they're cool?
Well, first, the Uno card's a little weird as a counter card because in Uno you play it during your turn, right? Like a regular card.
Yeah, I'm
So
more so focused on like
it's
the Universe card meme, which like if someone
okay.
like talking about like the Universe cards, like reversing it, not just the order, which wouldn't do anything to Pokemon TCG because like there's only two people.
No,
Um,
right.
I was considering doing
Uh,
like draw for a wild or something, but didn't do that.
but yeah, part of one of the big difference between Pokemon and say Magic the Gathering, obviously two really big TCGs, is it in Magic the Gathering? There's interaction. Both when your opponent's playing, you do certain things. It can take actions during their turn at certain set things. With Pokemon, for the most part, one player takes the turn, the other player either looks at them, or if they're playing live, they probably close the app and go on their phone, and then eventually realize, oh, I should do something now. But you basically kind of, you either can think about your turn, which is the better thing to do, or you kind of just mentally check out during your opponent's turn, which we all we do. I think we all do that at times. So it's different. It changes the dynamic jumping in the turn, and some things that can counter. I think it's interesting. So I kind of like that aspect, bringing that to the game.
Yeah, I will say you said like you make it sound like Pokemon's like the way you're doing it is bad, and there are some downsides to it. I think it has upside as well. Um, I mean, ultimately, I played some Magic, and you're paying attention to what your opponent's doing, but you're not like interacting with everything. You're just interacting with some
Yeah.
things. So ultimately, I feel like you do have to pay attention, but also you're not getting that much. I don't know. It doesn't feel like you're getting a ton of payoff for like paying. Like I don't know. I do like that, like being able to kind of almost like have time off. I guess because also Magic
Yeah.
has Commander format. I'm not super familiar with the dynamics of it. I've certainly seen some. I think I played a little. And it's a format where you have generally 4 people, and then you're kind of talking with the other people. Because in Pokemon, you can't talk that much, though you can talk with someone if you're in like a more communal setting. I'm in a Pokemon club. In my school, and that club has, you're talking to people maybe in different game or in like next to you or something like that. Well, it's not your turn, because you need to pay attention during your turn.
Right.
But then with something like Magic, you can talk with other people in the like. It's one person's turn. However, you still need to be paying attention to what they're doing. So you can't talk as much. I do think it is nice to have like that quote time off. In some ways, it
Yeah.
makes it more casual, but I think that's a good thing. I do like that about Pokemon.
It's a different thing, right? Having to know during your turn, you can kind of pay attention, but you can kick back some, right? In Pokemon, if you want to talk, like you're in a casual game with a friend and you want to talk some, and you talk 10 minutes during your game, you've made the game 10 minutes longer, really, because both players are stopping for the most part. Well, when the conversation happens, so that just is what it is. It's a two-player game, so that's there. Yeah, there's certain nice things about being able to kind of relax when it's not your turn. The difficult, or yeah, it's a downside to me at times anyway, is you don't know how long the turns take. And certainly if you're up against someone that has long turns and is slow with their decision making, it gets frustrating in that way, right? Like we all run into that. A player who's slow, usually because they're trying to figure things out, or a newer player, and they every item they play, they take pretty much the maximum amount of time, and they kind of sit there and they say, "Oh, I'm going to play another item again," and you're just either frustrated waiting, or you just kind of have to, or you mentally check out and you kind of wait till it's your turn to start thinking again. But it is what it is. As long as the turns, you have a sense of the pace of the game. It's not, it's just a different dynamic.
Yeah, it's a
Is what
different
I'd say.
dynamic. And again, yeah, these cards would like kind of remove that dynamic to a sense. Oh, there's another card. There's what Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring or something. Um, and yeah, they also are kind of annoying. Like specifically, all these are more or less counter cards that like stop your opponent
Right.
from. Realistically, most of them are stopping your opponent from setting up or doing what they want to do, which is also not so fun. It's kind of like Badoo, or something kind of like that, right? Except you don't know what's
Yeah.
coming, which is like, and that's like tense, um, tenseness to the game, I guess. But that's not like necessarily a super good thing either. I don't think. I'm not sure.
I mean, if you were gonna take this game format seriously, and you could do it IRL, you could do it in the TCG Sim, you could do it IRL with the cards or proxies. You can print out these images. Not a big deal there. Um, you probably need to have some rules for the game. Like, do you want to play with counter cards or not? You probably have the ability. Like, because
Yeah.
sometimes you might not want to play with counters, but sometimes you do. So then you kind of, because there's a lot of potential different cards, you probably have to kind of narrow it down at different times to make the games enjoyable, I suspect.
Yeah. Ultimately, um, there's also like power difference between some of these cards. A lot of the Pokemon in the video I recorded, which I might have actually recorded. I'm not sure if I'm gonna post it before or after this. But ultimately, I said that most of the Pokemon have but like 30 HP or like 300 HP. There's not really that much in between. There are some, I
Yeah.
guess this Cheetah card has there's some in between, but there's a wide variety of HPs and power levels in these cards, and some are just kind of terrible. Unfortunately, I'm gonna reset so I can see all my Pokemon here. But like some of them are balanced. I tried to pick ones that felt more balanced though. And I don't know if I succeeded. But ultimately, it's kind of weird. I tried to pick ones like this one, this Historian card. It's a Pokemon with 10 HP and no attack, but it has an ability every time you play an item or a Pokemon, you draw a card, which is like kind of absurd. Um, Ultimately, this card allows you to just draw a ton. The deck has like solid draw power, but like realistically, if I just ran through something, and I like played a card, I could draw a card, and I played this, draw a card, play this, draw a card, play something like, this, I draw four more cards. This, I can draw a good chunk of cards ultimately during my turn, but I'm not going to be able to. Actually, how many cards do I draw? I could draw, or I don't know. You're going to be drawing a bunch of cards, but ultimately, it also only has 10 HP and no attack. So like, I tried to do some balance here, which like kind of, it's funny that it ended up with balance, um, more balance than I was like thinking it would. I will say I had to like rework the HPs. Like this one has 5,000 HP. Oh, this is not a good idea, one for balance, but it's 5,000 HP or shield or whatever, 5,000 power. So change it to 50 HP, 50 damage. Ugh. I will say that the ability or whatever says you do 100 million more. So that's the 100 million damage one. So I dropped to a million, but that's like still obviously absurd. There's a really funny card. There's a magic card which I don't have here because it's actually Well, because it's from a Final Fantasy. I think it's Jumbo Cactuar or something. And anyways, it has like nine. I think it does like 1,000. I think it's like 10,000 damage, which would then be boosted to 100,000 damage, which is kind of funny. But I don't have that one. Also, there was a magic card that I think does infinite damage and has infinite HP, but costs infinite energy. But yeah, I did not have that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some of the things, yeah, you had to really change things number wise. And if you were gonna do it, you probably pick a couple different games, and then you would come up with the appropriate factors for those games to make it work. Like if you're playing one card from 60 different games, it's really obviously be a crazy amount of time to make all the adjustments, and it would be too hard to probably remember when you're playing the game. So certain things are more compatible probably with it. Yeah, doing 1,000,000 damage or something. I don't think we need that. You did have a broken combo in the game that you took out. Right? One card, which is in the deck, that does 10 damage to each Pokemon, and there is a 10 HP Pokemon. But then you also had was it another item card that did reduced all your opponent's Pokemon to 10 HP? Was that what it was?
Yeah, pretty much that's what it did. That was from I think it was wait, is this Hearthstone? You played Hearthstone. Not this card, but it's
A little bit.
not Hearthstone.
I think it might be.
Okay.
I
You're not that
I
helpful.
think so.
Um
No, I'm not very helpful. Sorry.
no, but yeah, I spent like again a lot of time looking at these cards. I think it's interesting. I think it's like kind of funny. And again, you like there's a lot of things that Pokemon TCG could have as well. Another thing that came up a lot was you have cards like let me find some like this card, the one I showed you, which is kind of small because it has an outline around it, or this card, or this card, or I think this card. I'm not actually sure, or this card, I think, or this card, maybe. Honestly, a lot. I'm going to pull out all the ones that I attached it as a tool. That's not what I meant to do. I'm going to pull out all the ones that actually do have this, which is a cost to play instead. Oh, that's not one. Actually, no, I think that one does have a cost to play instead of a cost to attack. That seems much more common. A lot of them do, which is interesting that so many games have this mechanic. Which is again, I'm not sure about all of these, but it's interesting to see that again, most games have that. Something like Magic, I feel like is the one that Magic kind of has inspired a lot of these other games as well. Inspired Pokemon.
Yeah.
Even like a game like Dominion, you need to pay for the card, which is a game we play. But like all these cards, I'm not getting all of them, but a lot of them do. Especially the Pokemon, and then some of the trainers as well. And it's more interesting on the trainers because trainers in the Pokemon, and we were talking about the sum, don't have costs. You mentioned before that they could cost you to discard cards, and also there's a few different types of trainers. Notably, items and supporters have like quote different costs because you can only play one supporter per turn with as many items as you
Right.
want, which is like a balancing thing. But games where we have a cost on the card, that's a different like balancing type of thing.
Right. And I think for this, you just ignored that, right? For non-Pokemon, the cost
Yeah.
you got rid of. And I guess the way you incorporate it in terms of Pokemon TCG is for some cards you decided it needed to be a supporter versus it was an item, right? That was kind of the balancing point. If it was too strong or a bigger cost thing would probably be a supporter. Something low cost, weaker would be an item. Like it was a little funny because there were two draw three cards, and one of them was a supporter, one of them was an item. I actually think the item card might have even been a little bit better than the supporter card, but the way it was, I think you said this one's a supporter, this was an item for, I don't remember the exact reason.
Yeah, the one card was it says like play anytime and it doesn't use like play anytime. Um so that's like, you can do it whenever. It's kind of like a free action, unlike something like I don't know, the other one I actually don't have a reasoning for. The other one from like Clank or whatever, I think. I don't know where it is. I can't find it. And
I,
I found it. This
I
one.
think, yeah, I think the reason you wanted the one to be a supporter was just because there are +3 supporters in the game.
Yeah.
So therefore, it just seemed like it. But the other one that was +3 anytime, I think it actually had another option on the card too, didn't it? That actually
Yeah.
made it
The other option
a better
feels more like
card.
an item card. And so I figured I'd make the whole card an item. I wasn't sure. There's some though you look at like the game Dominion. Again, we're talking about this one because we like it, right?
Yep.
But it's a game that you play actions and you can play one action per turn. So you could play Ronin as your supporter for the turn. However, then you can also only do it. You can only do one. I mean, theoretically you can do more, but you can really only do one. Something for something like Sushi Go. That might be Sushi Go Party. Whatever. And then something like Battle Trance here. This one draws 3, but you can't draw any cards this turn. This one I did as an item. I did it as an item because you can theoretically play as many of this. Well, you can't actually play as many of this as you want, but you play them. They just wouldn't do anything. I guess I don't play the Spire really. I played a tiny bit, but it's a game that there's like again like an energy system that you use to pay for your cards, and then this is free, so it's like free, kind of like how items are free. So that's why I did it in that way. I could have made something like Mystic Shot here. Again, this is from I think Legends of Runeterra. Not familiar with this game really at all. I like it. I'm aware that it exists. This might not even be the game, but I think it is. It's a card that has a cost, so you can't play like as many of this as you want during your turn. I felt like it fit as an item, but I don't have an amazing reason for something like that. But regardless, I mean, I didn't want too many supports. I want some items, but ultimately, it's kind of hard to distinguish. But you do see like the different systems in games, and Pokemon has its system, which is pretty straightforward: items, supporters, and then sometimes paying through discard. Also, obviously, there's a lot of weird stuff in this deck. One of the interesting things is the supporter Ronin, which lets you play it from the deck, or the card that's functioning as a supporter, Ronin. And this is interesting. This is a card actually. We like Dominion a lot. This is the newest Dominion expansion at the time of recording, I'm pretty sure. And we don't have it, so I haven't played with this card. But it's supposed to have a different back. I don't actually think I can do that in the simulator.
Okay.
I don't remember. I think you can change the card backs, but I don't actually remember how to do that either. But regardless, that allows you to play it from the deck, and I think it goes on the bottom. I'm not really sure, to be honest. But regardless, Ronin is an interesting card there. But I like in supports in the Pokemon TCG, generally you don't have anything special like that. The only one I can think of is Grant, which lets you get it back from the discard, which is a unique thing. But do you think cool things like that in supporters are good, or do you think it's like too much?
It's good. But first, I just want to say you cut out for a little bit there.
Oh, well, why do you keep
back,
having issues with your Discord?
Well, and you also, it now says you've disconnected from the sim, but I don't know. But I'm just going to say in my log,
it does say
says
disconnected.
you reconnected.
It does say that.
So
maybe it's my internet.
But you're still. So maybe it's right. If you're losing for the sim, it's more at your end. But anyway, you're doing stuff in the sim. So anyway, but talking about supporters, right?
Cards. Yeah.
Yes, I can. So yes, so you're in there. I don't know what's happening. So. But there it is. So
lovely.
Anyway, it's well, anyway, the question was about supporters, right? And things that are complex. Yeah. It's nice having these different things. I will say, this is a different question, but it's not really your question. I don't have a good answer to that question. But the deck setting up was not consistent. Now you know the deck better than I do. I think the fact that it's a singleton deck, always singleton decks are less consistent, so you probably should allow 4 of cards just to help them set up and flow a little better. Probably you wanted to do this, right? 60. You wanted to go max craziness here for this deck, so I get that. But to make it a little more consistent, you probably go with 4, allow multiple copies of things. Some things you like the Oregon Trail card you made into a stadium. Is it really a stadium? Why is it a stadium? I guess there's no other way to use it. But it kind of doesn't really have synergy with Pokemon at all, right? In fact, the Oregon Trail one, it says roll an even number to ford the river, roll an odd number, and lose 1 supply card. So you said it's a stadium at the start of a player's turn. They flip a coin, heads, the stadium gets discarded. Tails, they have to discard a card from hand, right? So and we've done it. Okay, it fits with how it works in Oregon Trail, but it's obviously a very weird adaptation, right, to the Pokemon TCG.
Yeah, this is something a weird card. I looked through all the Oregon Trail cards, and none of them really worked better. Also, I will say another mechanic. I forgot this one. The 2 I wanted to talk about were the cost, which you talked about some.
Yeah.
And other Pokemon again just kind of does it differently, and then the playing stuff during your opponent's turn. But another thing that they do, in some games they do this a lot, is taking cards from your opponent and playing them, which is interesting. Pokemon hasn't had that except, well, I'm not actually super sure with older cards. We were gonna actually talk about older cards, but we don't know anything about them, so we scrap that idea. But regardless, you have those Team Flare Gear tool cards, which you attach to your opponent's Pokemon, but there was like two of them. And then there's also stuff like, UBX, which copies attacks, which is kind of like that, but you're not like taking their card. But like Magic, you can take your opponent's card, I think. One of the games, wait, which one? There's one where like a lot of them were taking cards. Oh, I don't think I included it. I think it was Citadel. So I like couldn't find it, but just the cards are there. But some of the games you like have taking your opponent's cards a lot. I think the Mario game, I don't know what game this is by the way. I think it's some e-reader game, but like some of them you take your opponent's cards, which is interesting, but obviously kind of problematic theoretically. Well, we can't do it on the sim. I kind of want to do it. There was one that we like swap hands with your opponent, which seemed like super fun, but you can't do that. But ultimately, doing something like that isn't something possible in the sim, and something Pokemon doesn't do because you could end up like taking your opponent's cards by accident, like home with you,
Right.
which like you don't want. But I think it's like kind of a fun thing.
Right. Some things are the nature of the game that don't work well with a collectible card game, unless you want people to actually take other people's cards as part of the prizing.
Seems
There's
bad.
a lot of right, which I don't think we want to happen. Right. I don't think we do. So that was the problem with that. What tool you attach to your opponent's cards? People would lose their card at the end of the game, right? If everyone wasn't careful about it.
Yeah.
The
And
other
that was
your
bright
opponent
red,
would.
and it still happened. I didn't play with that card really, but
Yeah. If you just scoop up your deck, drop it in your box, I'm sure it happens some. But obviously, for digital card games, it allows for things that you can't do in IRL games. Obviously, part of it is moving cards around, but you can take a card, for that game and put it into play for you, and it all gets sorted out. The other thing is like Dominion, which you're talking about some here. Probably we've talked about that more than a lot of games. It's a card game, but all the cards come from like one box. One person owns all the cards you're playing. So like there's cards that swap cards around the table and such, which you could do with the TCG here, such swap cards your opponent. But again, you'd have to get the cards back. With Dominion, one person owns all of the cards, so it's not a problem as the cards move around. So that would be complicate. I don't know that you could make it work reasonably in an actual TCG where you swap cards because you'd have to try to keep track. And different people have different sleeves, and then your deck wouldn't shuffle. You wouldn't follow the shuffling rules you want. So, and I don't know if you can even do it in the sim anyway, swapping cards between
yeah, I don't think I'm gonna try to
decks.
give you a card. I don't think it's gonna yeah, no. Yeah, that did not work. So yeah, but again, I think Magic does do that. Again, I don't play Magic really. I played it a little. I mean, I played it some, but ultimately,
Yeah.
it is something that like games can do, and it is kind of cool. I mean, it's fun theoretically, right, to be able to use your. I mean, it's fun. I mentioned UEX, right?
Yeah.
That attack's cool. Copying your opponent's attacks, I think is fun.
It is. And obviously, to extend that kind of messing with your opponent and getting to use their stuff, it makes the game fun, or at least it can, right? It obviously can make it unfun depending what style of game you want to play and such. You also have cards like because digital games, because you have Pokeball in the deck here, right? Which from Pocket, you put a random Pokemon basic from your deck into your hand, and we just kind of had a way to make it kind of do it in the sim. But of course, in a regular digital game, you can just do things like that automatically. You have to come up with some workaround for doing it here, and if you wanted to do it IRL, which in theory you should be able to do it in because the Pokemon like live or even the sim is intended to be a mimic of the IRL play, right? So the idea is it's IRL based. With this game, some of the cards are from digital games, which kind of allow things that you can't do IRL.
Oh yeah, that reminds me of a card that I was like, this card seems really funny, but I don't want to do it. And it was a card. It's from Hearthstone. It had a casting cost, but against a Pokemon, so I had to convert it to an energy cost. Its stats also weren't that good. It was like 100 HP, 100 damage, but it cost 125 energy, which is a lot, right? But
Yeah, it's quite a lot, yes.
but it costs one less for each card drawn, discarded, or played, or something like that, like throughout the entire game,
Okay.
which is like interesting, right? except for the fact that that's horrendous to track. So I didn't want to do that.
Yes.
And so I didn't end up doing that. But that's like interesting. And again, that's Hearthstone a digital exclusive game, so it works for something like that. And again, you see that in Pocket. I think Pocket actually, I'm not a big fan of the card design in Pocket in general. I feel like I feel like it's kind of boring. I will so to mind like 1 minute tangent about Pocket and like its card design. I feel like either it should be simple and fast, but it's not like super fast. It's faster than the TCG, but it's not like super fast. The games I think should be like 3 minutes on average, and I think they're longer than that. 3 minutes if played out all the way. And then the also, so instead they should make them more complicated, or like as complicated as the regular TCG, and they don't do that either. There's some middle ground which I think isn't great. However, another thing they don't do that much, but they do some, is make not pocket exclusive cards, but cards that could only work in Pocket, which you'll see again with something like Pokeball. You can see it in some different cards, like with the Energy Zone and stuff. Ultimately, I mean, you could like you could do a lot of these things with the actual TCG. And I feel like they could get more creative with it. And I feel like they've again played it mostly safe, which I feel like they've done with a lot of things in Pocket, which I understand why they're doing it. Again, it is safe and that's fine, but ultimately it's a game that has the potential to do things that the regular TCG can't do.
Yeah, I mean, Pocket's in. I assume it started super popular. I assume it's still doing well for Pokemon. So, but it's in a funny place because yeah, before it came out, we knew it was supposed to be a quick version. You said like 3 minutes. I was thinking, yeah, the game shouldn't go over 5 minutes because you want to do it when you have like a short break of time. And the games are decidedly, I think they're too long for a real quick game because it was kind of like, oh, this is Pokemon's answer to Marvel Snap. Marvel Snap's a lot quicker. So, it's. I don't think they hit that. I'm not sure. Maybe they're happy with where it is, and that's. But it seems like it should be quicker for Pocket. Some things they took advantage of being digital. It's it is what it is. It's yeah, it's kind of the Pokemon TCG, but it's not the Pokemon TCG. So yeah, it's very much a weird comparison to the because it's like there are cards from if you want to combine games from obviously the Pocket game cards are very similar to the TCG games. Like Pokeball is obviously the same name as a card from the TCG. I guess you could play two Pokeballs of each type. I don't know if one were coming like if you had 4 card rules, what you do. But obviously,
yeah, I mean, I will say, sorry, Pokeball. So I'd used the cards N and Bill and said that they were like essentially errata to the regular TCG cards. So technically, Pokeball should also
yes.
be, but I didn't want to do that because I'm making my own rules. So yeah, I forgot to mention that.
Right. It would have been boring then, right? If it was just Pokeball. If you errated it to the TCG, it would be pointless, right? The N is the letter N from Scrabble. So obviously it has no text. It's not even an actual card. It's a tile, which is kind of card-like, but it's not going to shuffle well.
Yeah, I was like, I could get it from some other game. We have the game Quiddler. There's lots of card games. There's a Scrabble card game, I think.
Yeah.
But I thought it was funnier if it was the Scrabble tile.
No, it's good. And Scrabble's the most iconic of the spelling games, I would think. So it's good. No, I mean that you did that, and obviously it becomes the ends card. It makes sense. It's obviously rather silly. It's also it's in a certain sense it's pointless. It's silly fun, but you could just put ends card in. So if you're gonna do it, you really want cards that do something different from the TCG. Like your energies for the most part are kind of pointless in a sense, like we have from Catan. The ore from Catan, it could just be which you can as a metal energy, but just make it a metal energy. A lot of the energies are colorless, or you have the Candyland that provides 2 colorless. I guess is what you said it does.
Two water.
2 water. So I got some different. Now the one from what's the one with the 3, the blue, red, and the green
from Mahjong. That one.
Mahjong. So
that's also like an image. It's like kind of weird the way I did it as well. I don't know why this is kind of. It's like different than all the other ones, kind of because it's like a kind of like a representative image. I guess it's kind of strange. But.
Okay. I mean, most of the energies, like the Monopoly dollar, which is one colorless, they're kind of just, you're just trying to get stuff in. So those, for the most part, didn't add something interesting. The Mahjong tile, though, it's a one energy that's 1 water, 1 fire, 1 grass, all at the same time. So that's like a super powerful kind of broken energy, right? And probably, I would say for gameplay balance, that shouldn't be in the TCG. And then the other things like, like the two of hearts, was that two fire energy or was that two
Yeah, yeah,
colorless? I
two
don't
fire.
remember. So, again, that's fine, but it's, the energies are probably the weakest part of terms of other games getting them in to become Pokemon TCG cards.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to do there. Ultimately, I mean the energies in the Pokemon TCG are also the weakest part of the game in terms of like card diversity. I mean, I tried to make,
Yeah.
I did a video where I had all Pokemon. There's lots of things to do there. A video where it was like all trainers except for one card, which didn't really play. Lots of things to do there. Less things
Yep.
because you can't do any Pokemon, but still things to do. With just energy, there wasn't really anything to do. You couldn't even focus on the energy because the energy there's only in at least live expanded, even in the full expanded, there's not like crazy energies, but
Right.
there's some that do a tiny bit of damage, tiny bit of healing, tiny bit of draw, but just not much. Nothing like truly crazy. I mean, you played capture energy in the video. That's like probably one of the strongest energies. Um, but most energies are not like that. So I couldn't really find. I mean, maybe there are some energies that could do it. There's like the fetch lands and magic, which I'm not entirely sure. I think they're just kind of like. I think they're kind of like energy search, honestly. But there's like some things that do. I imagine there are cards that kind of do things like that. But again, energies like are kind of they're the similar side of the game, the simplest card type there. Um, but yeah, are there any cards that you played with that you thought were pretty interesting there? I don't know if there are any that really stood out to you, and you can say like an idea if you don't remember what the card was.
Okay. Why don't you talk about something else for a minute? Let me think
Okay,
about that.
okay. I guess I'll say some that I thought were interesting. One, this is from I don't remember. It's just like Monster or something. I don't remember. This is like the last card added, but it's Invigorating Solution. It says you use it. You draw 3 next turn, which is interesting. Oh, and also Chopsticks as well, which is play 2 supporters next turn. Is what I had it as. Um, and these are interesting. Oh, I think I was just anyway. I didn't play this. So this card is both of them. They are cards that let you do things next turn, which is interesting. Um, Pokemon, I don't think really has that. I mean, you can attack for things next turn to some, and obviously you can like play cards to search for next turn. Um, but I think this is kind of interesting, especially an item like this is draw 3 as an item is really good. Um, but it's still late, so it's like an interesting way of balancing it that I thought was really interesting. Um, Also, we had this card which says you gain 1 chain, which says that it like does some stuff and it's like quite strong. However, it's a card that you gain a chain, so you can't draw a card at the beginning of your next turn. Is how I interpreted it. That's kind of what it does again. I said interpret. I like looked up online what it meant, and I think it's something like that. And so ultimately, that's kind of interesting. Again, with like a downside like that, seeing different downsides is cool. Pokemon generally doesn't have too many downsides. Again, mostly discarding cards or something very similar to that, like lost owning cards or something like that. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I think those are some interesting cards there.
Okay. One which we didn't mention that was super impactful, maybe overpowered, is I think it was an item. It let you attack twice.
Oh, the supporters, yeah.
It's a
Um,
supporter, okay, but it's still like overpowered in the game, right? I don't remember which card it
yeah,
was.
Commander, the Irie leader, um, move in battle, which says as an attacker, deal an extra hit. Which yeah is like kind of broken, but and I feel like that's a fair interpretation, but it's like super strong.
Yeah, it may be a fair interpretation. With the way the TCG's built and balanced, it throws the game off. Probably right. It's probably a little too strong. I would suspect.
Yeah, another
Um,
card also, or do you have more to add about that card?
no, I mean the card which we talked about a little bit is the Nope card,
Oh yeah,
right? Which those counter, which is insanely, which is very interesting actually. Or do you want to talk about the other card first? Because those
yeah,
counter cards were interesting.
I'll mention because we talked a little about counters, but we'll talk more. But
Yeah.
Shang-Chi, also random thing. This is from Marvel Snap. It doesn't say what it does on the card. That's kind of annoying, but whatever. It does it. It says it like below the card when you play it, I think. But anyways, I haven't played Marvel Snap in a while. But also I went for like iconic cards from games. Some wasn't. Some games don't have his iconic cards. A wide variety of things. But regardless, Shang-Chi is a card on play. You functionally, again, the damage is multiplied by 10 here, so you knock out all your opponent's Pokemon with 100 HP or more in play. I think it's like in the same location. I was going to have it as the attack or just be their active, but I decided to do all their Pokemon. This is like super broken. It's not like so fun either. I will say the other one, which attacking twice, is fun. Just like knocking out all your opponent's Pokemon, I guess is like kind of funny, but it's like super broken, not like as kind of clever. Shang-Chi is a card that is like super broken. Also has like super low HP. Again, there's Pokemon with absurd abilities with like terrible HP. Which is kind of interesting to see. You got like the Source Dragon Deity of Blessings, Bless Favor, and the Pete. Oh, Pete as well. This card is super nasty. I don't think I'd want to see this one in the game. On play, you trainer lock your opponent or something. I think this card is like super broken in Lorcana from what I've seen. Maybe not broken, but like very good. And like it looks good, right? So yeah.
Yeah, the text repeat is when you play this character, which of course becomes a Pokemon for this. Your opponent can't play actions until the start of their next turn. You said actions was all trainers, so I
Sort
think
of your next turn. You said their next turn.
until the start, right? So your opponent's and your opponent's next turn they can't play anything. Which I think you went first. You played Pete on your first turn, and you just won the following turn. I think so because I think I only got one Pokemon to play. I couldn't play any of my trainer cards, and that was kind of it for me. So
yeah, the trainers in the deck are pretty weak. There's not really Pokemon search. Well, I don't know if they're weak, but there's not Pokemon search. There's that one magic card which is Pokemon search. There's Pokeball, which is like kind of Pokemon search, but not really. There's that Digimon card, which is like kind of Pokemon search, but pretty bad. And then there's also there's a Bastos as supporter, which is search for any two cards, which is actually like, well, no, it's you swap two cards from your hand with two cards in your deck, or up to, which is like really strong. But overall, there's not that much search. There's a good chunk of draw in the deck. I will say again the historian card, which on play, whenever you play a Pokemon or an item, you draw a card, is kind of interesting. It's super weak, but insane draw. I feel like it almost feels like an expanded level power card, with like crazy draw. Again, super weak. It's 10 HP. So
yeah, a couple things which is what makes 2 points I think that are part of what makes Pokemon, which this game doesn't really get because other games don't have it, is those search cards, right? That Pokemon lets you search your deck, which other games don't really. Like Magic, you draw from your deck. But getting to search your deck for a card or a Pokemon, well, there wasn't really that. So the game, I think you need some Pokemon cards in the deck too. Honestly,
yeah, I think there are some search cards. I mean, funnily enough, you said Magic doesn't have searching, and the main search card is the Magic card. Which I had to like go out of my way to find as well. Right. Yeah, I mean most of them I do have drawing. I don't think there wasn't like any other. There's Ambassador, but that's like kind of different as well. But yeah, I mean, again, most of them have some of them have a communal deck, so you can't like search that, or it's like kind of weird to do that. But yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think part of what makes Pokemon TCG is searching your deck for things as part of the game. So we need some of that in it. And the other thing is Pokemon evolve. And I think that's kind of what makes Pokemon unique as well, is the evolving. And there weren't any evolution Pokemon because you went with one card per game. And how are you going to do that, right? Without some absurd set of rules. But I think, to make Pokemon, it needs to be able to evolve, right? That's part of what makes Pokemon, I would say.
Yeah, I will say, I think Digimon has evolution, but kind of, but a little different, and then some other things, but not really. I did want to make the pocket card evolve from the regular TCG card, but I couldn't find anything that would actually like work well, where like the previous evolution was good, and the pocket card was also like pretty good. Ultimately, the deck ended up being like, I guess, super strong, but like kind of swingy. I will say like set up super well in the first game. I mean, guaranteeing is starting NTV, which is what I did for the video to be funny. Helped with its draw ability and its really solid attack. Right. But yeah.
Right, you wanted NTV though because that was the one actual Pokemon card. So you wanted to wait till you started playing till I saw like, oh, what's going on here, right? So I get that. Because I knew you were working on this deck a lot, and you started NTV, and I'm like, well, that seems like and you made a point of I want to choose my starter for the first game, and I was like, that seems like I expected something really spicy, which it certainly is, but I was like, NTV, I like NTV, but it's really not that spicy. So you threw me off by starting NTV.
What was your reaction when I played my whatever the first card was?
I knew it was at that point. This game was kind of it was a silly. It was going to be. It was just for fun, right? The game.
Yeah.
There's a silliness to the game. Figuring out the interactions is going to be complicated. I also knew I wasn't going to figure out how to play, the game, and then you had me play the deck after, and I knew I wasn't going to maximize anywhere near maximizing my turns. Right? You probably didn't even maximize the turns yourself, but there was no way I was going to do that unless I spent like 15 minutes on every turn, which of course nobody wanted that.
Yeah. And the video was like kind of long. Most of it was actually not us playing against each other. The games were all really fast because we didn't actually set up super well. I will say, let's come back though to the Nope card, which you're talking about. And those types of cards.
Yeah, so Nope is like super powerful. I think it's fun. It stops the action of another player. You can play this anytime. That's the text on it. And so it's a counter card, so would play it when your opponent is playing their turn. I guess you could, if you both had Nope, you could counter their Nope with your Nope, I suppose.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I will say Magic the Gathering, I know in other games have like a stack, which interacts with card order and kind of like allows that to happen. Not sure. Pokemon doesn't really have that. I think it used to, which like broke the game because it doesn't have a stack, right?
Right. But with counters, I think you would need a stack. Probably, I would start with like just the Magic the Gathering stack, where it just is it builds, and then you kind of you do reverse order of their played in kind of the stack to sort them out. I would think you'd need that. But the idea of like, because I forget what it was, like I played Quick Ball, and then you played a card. It's like, sorry, I played the Quick Ball, I discarded whatever card with the Quick Ball. You played Nope or something else. It's like, sorry, your card does nothing now. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I don't actually know. It says stop any action, so it stops like trainers being played. I don't know if it would allow you to like stop your opponent from attacking. I assumed like no. I don't even know if I wrote it down. I think I wrote down just counter. So instead of rules, I just kind of like wrote what the cards do, kind of, sort of. But yeah, like it allows you to. It's also kind of, as I said, it's kind of annoying, kind of like something like Badoo. But it is a card that is it's kind of funny. And adds depth as well because you can like bluff as well, because you don't really have in Pokemon. Like you have it a little bit with something like Iona, which interacts with your opponent, where you're kind of like baiting them into playing it or not playing it or something like that. But and that's not always like the thing that's not like very common.
Right. So it is fun with games, because this is obviously more of a game podcast discussion episode rather than it's Pokemon. We're kind of talking about games and Pokemon and kind of comparing them, I guess, to a certain extent. Games where there's counters, I like that. It's good up to a point, right? You don't want to have too many counters. Like let's say they made a Pokemon TCG card with Nope and made it a trainer, I guess would have to be, that you could play during your opponent's turn. I don't think you could allow 4 Nopes in a deck, right? That would, I think, make the game very not good. So it would probably be like your ace spec. Let's say you had one ace. If they printed Nope as an ace spec, maybe, or maybe a Prism Star, and you could have one copy of Nope and one copy of some other cards. But I kind of like the concept of it, but you have to obviously limit it, because otherwise the game's going to get really degenerate, right? Control decks would just stop everything all the time and such. But I think it's a fun aspect to consider bringing into the game.
Yeah, I think Pokemon might have had it at a time. I want to say there was Regice, but I don't think that's the right card. The Regice does not that. Yeah, so there's some card. I think it was the same era. I'm just not as familiar with this era. But I do believe there was a card that now there's a Mesprit which blocks Poke Powers, and I thought there was a card, and I thought it was Regice, but this just has this Poke Power that says you discard 2 cards from your hand and you like Gust or something. So that's not it. But anyways, comment that down below if anyone knows what it is, because that's like useful to know. And interesting, again, is like a card that is a counter, which I said I thought there was a card that does that. But there, like, I don't know, I see one that says that you play it on your turn, you ability lock, but that, I don't think that's what it is. So, yeah.
Yeah, and one of the cards I'm looking through, it didn't play in our games. Would have been fun. Draw 3, play 2 of them. You set aside your hand. Draw 3, play 2, discard the other card, and then pick up your hand and keep playing. Interesting card. Whether you want it where playing cards is generally good, but in that game, I think sometimes you might not. You might have to play something you don't want to play as well, which makes it interesting because you don't your agency is limited, but it's an interesting thing, right? It would also be a way to play extra supporters for turn.
Yeah.
Which I guess that's the main thing. Although you may have to put a Pokemon in play that you don't want to play, and of course, if you have to play three and you drew out three Pokemon and you have your bench is full, I don't know what happens at that point. You'd have to figure out some ruling for that. So
Yeah. Also, I don't know. I was messing with this. I drew like Nope or something with that, so I guess you can't play that. I don't know if you can choose it and just like not play it. And yeah, this is like counted as an. Oh, this is counted, I think, as a supporter
was it
as
an item?
well.
It was just supporter for
I think
turn.
it's a
Okay.
supporter. Yeah. Oh, I guess so. The deck's sorted by trainer type as well. Yeah. So it's a supporter. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, again, it's kind of interesting. Again, that's from Flux, an interesting game there where you change the rules. Honestly, some of these games like Flux and we didn't play test this game. We're on top of each other. They're like not. I wouldn't say they're. Oops. I played it. I wouldn't say they're like super high quality games, but they're like funny. They're funny once, and I think cards like that are
Right.
really good for this. Kind of silly cards there. Oh, there's a card as well. This one's interesting. Solar Power, which I interpreted as is a stadium, which says you can play two energies during your turn. Kind of interesting there. Potentially like
Okay.
super broken. I'm not really sure. Um, I will say the Azul tile. Oh, one, I kind of want to put Azul's face on it because I thought it would be funny, but I didn't do that. And then two, it's a big square, so it's like really big in the simulator, which is kind of annoying. Oh, I also had the Monopoly dollar. Originally, it was sideways, and it like took up like you see the area where the orange tile is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took up like most of it, or like stuck out really far because it's the same height, but then it was like really
Right.
wide, so that was an issue. Again, there's some issues with the card sizing. Not sure what it'll look like in the thumbnail, but ultimately, I think it's what was the point of that? I don't think there was really a point to that, but
Uh,
yeah.
all right. So I think we're getting near the end of the video. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. Is this something that you think would be worth pursuing further? You put a lot of time into it. I know you could come up with a better deck. Is it worth pursuing further? And if you pursue it further, what would be good to make the gameplay better, right? Because ultimately, if you're going to do it, it's a fun thing, but you want to make the gameplay enjoyable as well.
Yeah, I think probably more consistent trainers would be good. Like items, the search would be good. Again, you mentioned the energy thing. That's cool as well. Or I will say I kind of had the idea to have my community build the deck. I didn't really do that. I had some inspiration from the community. Don't think it would go so well, but might do that at some point. We'll see. But then yeah, also Pokemon, I think I'd wanna, I don't know, ultimately, again, there's some with really high HP, some with really low HP. It's a bit of a mess at times. Not sure the answer to that one. I think it's okay. Like I think there weren't any Pokemon that were like completely unfair. I don't know. Like there were some that were kind of absurd. You look at something like Isabelle, which has 200 HP. Again, like I could adjust the prize count. Prize is given up by them. Also, they don't have retreat costs. And
Yeah.
then, so it's kind of awkward. But then, like it's 120 damage, 200 HP for one energy is like super strong. It's not like if this was in standard, it would be played heavily. It wouldn't be like the most broken card in the game necessarily, but it would be very good, right? Um,
Yeah.
it might be broken. And then like Spyro, it's free. It's a free attack, 340 HP, 50 damage. The attack isn't like super good, but then on play you do tend to everything as well. But like you have so much HP, this is like not really what you're looking for from the game. Actually, we might see a if we might see a mega with that. That'd be kind of funny. But regardless, yeah, this card's like some of them just don't work super well for this. I was honestly scratching the bottom of the barrel at card 40, so or like card 30. I was because I was like giving you updates on this every day. I was like, yeah, I'm like
Yeah.
well, first I like gathered a bunch of things and didn't have the list, and I started working this. I was like, yeah, I'm like 10 cards in, I'm 20 cards in, I'm 30 cards in. I got a few cards left, and I like kept saying like, oh yeah, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Um, so some of these don't work amazingly, and some of the energies are pretty boring. As you said as well. I'm not sure how I could spice that up. And something, oh, Balattro's another card. We got the Joker here, which is kind of funny, which allows you to play a supporter twice from your hand when you play it, which is really cool. But ultimately, it also doesn't say what it does on the card, so that's an issue for a couple of these cards here. Some like you need to like interpret really heavily, or something I kind of just changed what they did a little bit, or like a lot, I guess. I changed what they did a little bit for all of them, and then again, the ones they don't say that they do is annoying, and then they don't like look right as well. Like the images I took, the actual pictures I took look okay, but not amazing. Um, and some of the cards like Zhangqi and the Spyro card are really small. Not really sure why, but they like look really bad. Oh, I think because they're like transparent images or something with like space around them. It's like blank space. But that's like not ideal. So there are things I could do to just make it like look better. In terms of balancing, I think it's okay. Again, just more draw trainers. Outside of that, though, or like how like supporters they get you set up. And like an actual deck, right? The deck's not really thought out. It's just like
Yeah.
random cards. Um, and there's not really synergy here, so you could balance that. Also, some of the energies, like I could just put in like the 10 of hearts or something, and had 10 energies or something like that. So I tried to balance that.
Yeah.
And like Mahjong goes up to like 9, and Dutch Bliss I think is 10. We got Phase 10, which goes up to 10, and stuff like that. So that could be like a little silly. I don't know. Like you can't just try to build the best deck, because then you just like win instantly. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Right. And another thing I was thinking, if this was going to become something going forward, I don't know that it is or
Yeah, I
not.
doubt it, but
Probably, but you want to be able people to build their own decks, right? And you want to, in theory, be able to play a tournament, right? Or at least not that we're looking to have a world champion as such in a competitive scene, but you want to be able to have some card pool people can build their own decks from, because that's part of the fun of a trading card game like Pokemon. So you're going to have these rules worked out more, these interactions. You'd have to limit the card pool and get more consistent decks. So it'd be a lot of work probably. You probably need to take Pokemon and maybe like three or four other games, and then that are close enough, and you can kind of come up with interactions for those, and then limit sets and stuff. Maybe, I mean, it's still tough, right? Because you don't want some combat, you don't want it all to be one game being all the cards from that game, because that's not enjoyable either. So try to come up with something, balanced and viable is certainly a big ask, I would think.
yeah, I think this like I don't know. I felt like so when you play against me with Counter Day, like you lost. I will
Yeah.
say you didn't set up super well. I feel like yes, there were
No,
some things I did that hurt you, but also like I don't know, you kind of like missed your setup. I think you missed the turn 2 Saturday, right?
I did. I didn't set up. I'm trying to remember that we played a practice game too, but I didn't I didn't get draw the cards. I didn't get good cards. I think I was unlucky in my cards. I think they were
Yeah.
below average, the cards I had. I could have done something different. But I with those set of cards I drew into, I think even in a regular Pokemon game, I think I'm at a severe disadvantage, I would say, with what I drew. So we could have played multiple games just to get a sense of how it worked. Of course, different matchups are big swingy things too. So that would be its own question. I don't know, like, how balanced is this deck and all. Obviously we'd have to do a lot more play testing with that. I don't think that's in the cards, so to speak.
You don't want to do that?
I don't know if you want to do that, right? You've put a lot of time into it, so I mean, I could play a few more games, I suppose, but you might just be sick of thinking about this deck at this point. I don't know.
Yeah. But I will say, I mean, like ultimately, some of the Pokemon have really good stats. And I was wondering, and they're single prizes, so I was thinking like if you played a multi-prizer, and there's some things to instantly one-shot them as well. So, oh, there's Shang-Chi, there's that like Dragon card where you do like a million more damage. So, those would be
Yeah.
bad for the multi-prizes. But that was what I was thinking. But maybe you would have had a better shot, because you couldn't do high damage. Yeah, the cards are like some of the cards are just too strong for the Pokemon TCG. Some are really interesting. I will say the Yu-Gi-Oh card, which you discard to counter your opponent from drawing a card. Your opponent will see it coming. Again, I don't know if I did it right, but your opponent will see it coming. It's not like absurd. It's a Pokemon with no attack as well, which is kind of interesting. So overall, I think there were some cool things I learned from this. I didn't learn that much from it. I'm not gonna lie, but I guess I learned a lot of different games. I read a lot of rule books. So that was another thing. But yeah, I think this is it was a funny experiment. Hopefully the video does well. I'll be kind of sad if the video does badly. I'm not gonna lie, but not necessarily. I want this podcast to do well as well. But this the video, which I spent like both of these. I want people to hope to enjoy this, and maybe have some fun with it. Maybe try it out. Maybe probably not try it out, honestly. I don't think I'm going to include the download file to it in the description. We'll see. If someone wants it, I might be able to include it. Don't know if it actually is doable, honestly. But anyways, I think that's all for today's podcast episode. We already talked about whatever this is, but we hope you enjoyed. Consider liking and subscribing on our YouTube videos and YouTube channels, Uncommon Fossil and 10 Types. But we hope you enjoyed, and as always, we're excited to see you in the next episode.
Take care.